Well, hello loves and happy Sunday to you. So today we're doing some experimenting. I'm answering a question that I get pretty much every day and then kind of experimenting with that a little bit. And then I want to kind of go on this journey of experimenting with you for some of the deeper meaning that it has for us as artists. So I can't wait to kind of jump in and play and experiment and see what happens. So first of all, I want to talk about my house paints. So that's a question that I get every single day. And I have kind of explained my house paints. I think in previous videos, at least I've tried, but I'm going to go into a little bit more thorough explanation today and answer the question about, so I get a question about the house paints, and then I get a question about, are they archival? Are they fade resistant? Are they all these different kinds of things? And I want to say off the top, house paints are used by artists all the time. It's a regular thing. And in comparison to the price that a regular like Golden or Liquitex brand for paints, in comparison, the cost is for my house paints is just minimal in comparison to the Golden brands or something like that. And I'm not worried about archival. I'm just not. I looked up the word archival, and it states that archival is something that will last for more than 50 years. Well, if my art is lasting for more than 50 years hanging on somebody's wall, I feel lucky. And if at 50 years it needs to be restored, I feel like, I've won the lottery, that somebody loves it that much. So I'm not worried about it being archival. It is fade resistant. And when you think about the house paint that I use, it's water-based, but those are the paints that we use on our walls that are touched and felt and smudged and on and washed down and all those kinds of things over and over and over again. And yes, if you happen to put a piece of art in a window over time, there may be some fading, maybe. But I know that the sunlight gleams in our windows onto our walls in our homes, and the paint doesn't fade. So I am not worried about it being archival. I don't have any issues with fade resistant. It already says that on the can, that it's fade resistant because it's a house paint. And it lasts and lasts and lasts. So that, I hope, answers your question about me worrying if it's archival. Especially my journal, the things that I put in my journal, I don't care. I mean, none of the things that I put in my journal usually are archival or that I even think about. I've got cardboard in there. I've got, it'll all disintegrate with time. And if by chance in 100 years I'm one of the masters that are hanging on the wall in a gallery and something needs to be restored, then wow. I do seal my work with a Liquitex varnish that is archival, that is fade resistant as well. So I am never worried about that. What I am wanting to do and not necessarily worried about is allowing myself the freedom to experiment and create. And that's what my house paints do. Because it's cost effective, I can get any color under the rainbow if I want. I can make my own color, take it in, have them color mix it, and it magically appears. So that is my journey with house paints. It isn't a perfect journey, and we're going to talk about that here. But I wanted to let you know because this question comes to me every single day. And all I want to do is create. And the house paints allow me to do that because of so many things. It's very versatile, and you'll see that in just a second. Okay, so that question is out of the way. Now, the next question that I get often is, how does it compare? How does the house paints compare to, say, a fluid acrylic? Or is it like ink? Is it like a heavy body? So we're going to do those comparisons right now. And I'm going to show you some of the things that I love about my house paints and some of the things that maybe, I need to adjust because it is what it is. So let's dive in. So I've got my journal out here, and I'm going to start with my house paint. And this is my house paint, and I want to go over, because again, everyone asks me every single day. This is Bear Dynasty. It's an interior matte paint. It's matte. And I'm going to explain why I want matte in just a minute. This is like a premium. It has a paint and primer. It's opaque. It's very opaque. And I want that because it allows me the versatility to thin it out without the color diluting as much. So it's very opaque when it goes on. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this out on my palette. Okay, so it's very opaque. And when it dries, if I do a solid color like this, it's very opaque. You can't see through it. You think about a house paint, like that's what it's made for. At least the Bear Dynasty. It is the top. It's the most expensive. But in comparison to buying a golden tube of paint, it's very cheap for what I get. Now I get the tester pots. This is equivalent to 2 of these or similar. And this on sale is $5.99 to $8.99. A tube of golden, let's see where my goldens are. They're anywhere between 12 and 15. This is I think the price has gone up, so it's $7.99 for a pot. Now, what I did was I took my favorite colors that I had been using, and I swatched them out, and I took them into Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, paint mixing place that you've got. And I asked them to color match it. And then I brought all my tester pots home, and I did a swatch next to them to see how they matched. And some matched really, really well, and some did not. So the darker colors have a harder time of matching. And most of the time it's because of the undertone. So like this is, I have several tests to get a raw umber. That's my color. That's my color. And I still cannot find a color that is a good match. So I have opted to go to Golden So Flat Raw Umber because it is matte. We'll talk about that in a second. But everything else that I have swatched out has been really pretty good. You can see I got a question mark there. It's not exactly the same. So Raw Umber and Payne's Gray, which are these 2 colors that I was trying to match, I have in this Golden So Flat. So you can also just go in and pull a color that you like the exact color, and say, this is what I want. And then I bought condiment bottles. I'll go back to the one I'm working with. Condiment bottles. And I just poured the paint in there. Just, funnel paint in. These are condiment bottles. I did cut the top down shorter than, I'm trying to see if I have, so this is a regular condiment. And I like the ones that have the thing on the lid because, are you kidding me? This will be lost in 2 seconds. And instead of cutting it down at the regular place, I cut it down lower so that the paint comes out easier. So I like the ones with the cap on top. I'm terrible at caps in general anyway. So that's my house paint. And I love them. I love the color selection. I love that I can, swatch out colors that I love, that I've used for a very long time. And I love the cost effectiveness of it. And it doesn't keep me from saying, oh, this is the good stuff. I can't use, like, Golden's really expensive. It's really expensive. And it always sits on the shelf because I'm like, I don't want to experiment with that because it's the good stuff. Now, this really one is the good stuff. This is quinacridone nickel azo gold. They don't make it anymore. But there are, for a long time, because of what I spent on the supplies, my paints, I wouldn't use them because they were so expensive. And I need to use them every day. And we're going to talk about that too in just a minute. So that's my house paints. And I think I have covered those questions. Now, the other question is, what's the thickness? And I'm just going to show you. So I'm just going to put a dab right here. And it's raised. It's thicker, but not too thick. Now I'm going to tilt it up. And I want you to see that it does start to move. But it doesn't run. Because it's a premium paint, it's nice and thick, but it's not a heavy body. And I want you to see a heavy body next to it. So you can see the thickness of how my little droplet is. Now I'm going to put this out, and I think you can see the difference. See how thick that is? It's not moving. It's not running. It has a lot of thickness to it. Versus this is now starting to kind of run down. So that's the difference between, say, a regular heavy body to my house paints. Now, I would consider this the consistency of, say, a fluid acrylic. So this is a fluid acrylic. It's kind of in between. So this is a fluid acrylic. And I'm going to put the fluid acrylic up here. You see how easily that runs? So it's in between the heavy body and the fluid acrylic, my house paints. So now the other question is it like a high flow? It's not. High flow is more like an acrylic ink. All right, this is the high flow. And look at how quickly that flows. So this is my house paint. This is a heavy body. This is a fluid acrylic. And this is a high flow. And high flow and acrylic ink are very, very similar. Except this has more opacity than an acrylic ink. So you can see how this is still kind of limping along. This hasn't moved at all. This is my fluid, high flow, acrylic ink. That is the difference. See how quickly it's run down? And I used very little. That's the difference between the types of paints that I use quite often. Now, my Golden So Flats are more of a heavy body. What do I do with my brush? I'm just going to grab this. But it's really the option that I choose because I'm going to put that down. And you can see the Golden So Flat is more of a heavy body. Now sometimes I want to have a heavy body to do skipping and different things like that. So I'll grab a palette knife. And sometimes I want to skip that paint and give me some more texture than maybe my house paint would allow me to do. These are all the questions that I get, like, what do you do if it's too thin, etc. Same with this one. This one has enough body that I can get some really good skipping. This one does somewhat, but not as good. You can see how it's a little bit more of a struggle to get that. Now what I can do, there's always options. So with my house paint, is I can now take my house paint and add a little bit of matte gel. This is Liquitex matte gel. I'm going to mix this up. Now you can see I've got some peaks and valleys. It's not falling off my palette knife. I've got some peaks and valleys. Now I can come down here and it's going to give me that same kind of skipping. Now it's not going to be quite as opaque as, say, full strength, because I've added that medium to it. But it allows me the options that I need on occasion. I don't always need to have all that texture. And it also allows me fluidity. So a lot of times I want to give myself this option to smush and push and move it. And let me see here, to kind of use it with other tools. And the heavy body doesn't do that as well. And to get it to smush and pull and move, I have to really water it down, which dilutes the color quite a bit. It's not as flowy. And so I feel personally that my house paints give me a huge variety of options at a small cost. And to me, that's important because it doesn't stop me from showing up to create. Now, this is the fluid acrylic, and fluid acrylics are wonderful to water down and move around and smush in. They're wonderful for that, and it holds the intensity of color. But this bottle right here is $27, or probably now, well, they don't make this anymore. It's more than that now. I haven't bought any for a long time. And this is my Golden High Flow. And I do use all of these in various stages of work or exactly what I'm looking for. If I really want to get some movement, I'm going to probably go for one of these. Or just work at getting my acrylic paint, house paint, to drip. But you'll notice it doesn't have the intensity of color that these do. Even in the, like, as they drip, their color is very intense. Look at that color, it's so good. Same with acrylic ink. I have intense color, lots of options. I just love nickel azo gold. Let's just play with that a little bit more. Mix it together. Ooh, look at that. And then this is my golden so flat. And because it's flat, it's very opaque, very rich and intense color. But again, comes with a cost. I can water this out, get it flowy, or I can use it, because it's more thicker, I can use it just like this. But it's very expensive. So I can do all of that. Oh, I can do pretty much all of this with my house paints. I can make it thicker. I can even use my matte medium. So I'll grab this little bit of house paint here and put a dash of matte medium, and it'll give me a glaze. A beautiful, soft glaze. Not flowy, but a glaze. So I love my house paints because it affords me to have a wide variety of colors, to have no fear when I create, and to be willing to experiment over and over and over with whatever I'm working on without the fear of feeling like, oh, that's the good stuff. I don't want to use the good stuff. And we should always use the stuff. Always use the good stuff. Even now, like, I'm not stopping myself to say, no, I can't use the good stuff. So now I want to get this dry, and then I want to come back and I want to show you one more reason why I use my house paints versus all of the other things. Okay, so I've got this dry now, and I want you to see one major reasons why I like my matte house paint. Well, it's just one of the reasons, but I like a matte finish. And I want you to see how shiny the other acrylics are. And yes, when you water them out, they're not as shiny, which is why I tend to use the high flow or the acrylic ink when I want that kind of flowiness that I can't quite get from my, watered down acrylic paint, or even just the glaze. But this is really, really shiny, and that is not my thing. And part of the reason why is because I like to use soft pastel, charcoal, soft pastel pencils, and on a slick surface, and I'm just going to draw a line across here. And this is the matte, the golden so flat. This is matte. If I draw that line across there, and I rub my soft pastel on the shiny surface, it just goes right away. Over here, it stays, and I get my shadow. This is pretty much gone. And on that shiny surface, it just goes away. This is my matte paint. Same with my charcoal pencil. I don't get the same response from the two other tools that I like. So that's why I use a matte paint. That's why I love the house paint, because I can get pretty much everything I want in my matte house paint. I'm not worried about the archival part. I'm not worried about any of that kind of stuff. I am wanting to have something that helps me step up to the table, not think about any risk or anything like that of this stuff is really expensive, maybe I shouldn't use it for this, or whatever it might be. Plus I want it to work with with the things that I love. And so that's why I use my matte house paint. So that's a really good example of the different types of paints: heavy body, fluid, high flow, acrylic ink, and then the so flat. So I hope that answers a lot of your questions and about the house paint, and it gives you a reference as to what the differences are between my paint, a regular heavy body, fluid, high flow, and acrylic ink. When you know what you're working with, then you can adjust accordingly. Now, if I desperately wanted to use, I just don't use the heavy body much anymore unless I can't get the right color. But like with the fluid acrylic, that quinacridone, nickel azo gold, that's like gold, and I may use that from time to time. And it is shiny. So what I would do is I would just put a coat of matte medium over the top and make it matte. But see, I don't have to go through any of those steps with my matte house paint. And if I really, really wanted to, I could go take this and my nickel azo gold and get it color matched pretty closely to, in fact, I probably will now, to that color. And then it's matte and it's ready for me to use anytime. Okay, So that is our experimenting. Now, I just want to share one thing with you along the lines of this experimenting. So I have been reading over and over. I go back to it at least once a week. It's The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And I came across this just before I was getting ready to do this because I was doing a little quick reading. And I thought, serendipity, always. I love it when that happens. But it says, when beginning a new project, we're often met with anxiety. I know I am. Like if we're intending to create something of substance or we want a finished piece or something like that, there is a bit of anxiety. Even when we're practicing, maybe. Not for me so much anymore. But it says, when beginning a new project, we're often met with anxiety. It visits almost all of us, no matter how experienced, successful, or well-prepared we might be. When we don't know yet where we're going, we don't wait, we move forward in the dark. If nothing we attempt yields progress, we rely on belief and will. We may take several steps backward in the sequence to move ahead. We can recognize we've ruled out lots of ways that things don't work. And that is what our creativity is all about. What we did today, we're recognizing what works for us and what doesn't work for us. We recognize we've ruled out 10 ways that something doesn't work, bringing us that much closer to a solution. I want you to hear this. For the artist whose job is testing possibilities, success is as much ruling out a solution as finding one that works. So what I have done is I've ruled out the things that I don't like. It may be different for you, but I've ruled out the things that I don't like, and I've come to the solution of the thing currently, it's always subject to change as an artist, currently that I love. In the process of experimentation, we allow ourselves to make mistakes, to go too far, to go even further, to be inept. There is no failure in every step we take necessary to find what we love, to find the solution to what we're doing, whether we've looked at something that we're doing and we just are like, this is not working. We don't give up. We continue to experiment, explore, and try something new. With unshakable faith, we work under the assumption that the problem is already solved. The answer is out there. Perhaps it's obvious, we just haven't come across it yet. So I give you some things for you to think about that may offer a solution for you. And then at the very end of this chapter, the quote is, sometimes the mistakes are what makes a work great. Humanity breathes in mistakes. So I think there are no mistakes. And we may not have a solution yet to what we want or what we're doing or the thing that we want to use. But if we continue to keep trying and exploring and finding videos or other instructors or whatever it might be that might offer you the solution or give you an idea, and then you go and you make the mistakes, you make the ventures to find the solution that you're looking for. I think every time we step up to the table is a victory. It's not a defeat. And we always learn something as we do. It's just the act of doing. Show up, make a mess, and repeat. And so I want to take this mess of a page and make it into something. Not a masterpiece, not anything that's worth anything, but something that I have learned from, I will find something in, I might discover something, new color combinations. We are always on the journey of practice and making mistakes and understanding why, and then finding our way through. I just want to encourage you to step up to the table today. Try it all. Doesn't matter. Find what lights your soul up. But the only way that you will do that is showing up and making a mess and doing it over and over again until you get there. So I hope what I have given you, the comparisons that I've given you today, answers your questions about my paints and how they compare and why I use them and how I use them and all those kinds of things. But most of all, I hope that it inspires you to take your own journey into, okay, well, I'll give it a try. Maybe it won't work, and that's fine. But at least you know you're one step closer to what you want. So I encourage you to play, experiment, and explore today. I'm going to try and make this into something that I love, and that's the most important thing. All right, my loves, I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. I hope it's restful and peaceful. I hope that you explore and play, and I hope that you always, always know that you are loved.